Hello, you absolute legends. I am in total disbelief. Just when you think you've seen everything, something comes along that blows your mind and completely changes the world. As you all know, Super Mario Bros. Is the best-selling video game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Released in 1985, it sold 40 million copies and came bundled with most of the sold consoles. Number 2 on the list of most sold NES games is Duck Hunt, selling 28 million copies. Both games are classics, providing hours and hours of fun for the entire family. These two games also came bundled with millions of consoles. Somehow they managed to pack both amazing titles onto a single cartridge. Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt. Can you really name a better duo? These dual carts are highly treasured in the retro video game collecting hobby, and they are worth a pretty penny as well. You can get a whole cart for $6 entire on eBay, and if you want to get really frisky, you can get the cart and the manual for $16. To put that into perspective, if you owned 1 million carts, that could be worth $6 million, and if you owned 1 billion carts, that would be worth $6 billion. That is a lot of money, and that's why this new discovery is so historic. A used game store owner in Wisconsin found 97 Super Mario and Duck Hunt cartridges. Yes, you heard me right, 97 carts. And they even came with manuals. Doing some quick math here, that is worth at least $1,552. That is almost enough money to cover a full month's worth of rent for most people. But aside from the hundreds of dollars these carts could sell for, it's just a really cool find. Wait a minute guys, this is just coming in. Apparently word of this discovery has just hit the mainstream news. Let's see how the news is reporting on this incredible event.
A box of old Nintendo games found in Wisconsin could be worth millions.
Think your old video games have no value? Well, a box of old Nintendo games found in Waukesha could be worth millions.
A box of old Nintendo games found in Wisconsin could be worth millions of dollars. Take a look at this.
Now we're going to tell you a box of old Nintendo games that was found in Wisconsin could be worth millions.
A box of old Nintendo games found in Wisconsin could be worth millions.
Box of Nintendo games that were found in Waukesha could be worth millions of dollars.
Old Nintendo games found in Waukesha could be worth millions.
All right, check this out. A box of old Nintendo games found in Illinois could be worth millions.
A box of old Nintendo games found in Wisconsin could be worth millions themselves.
Wow, millions of dollars. This is totally an organic news story and definitely isn't a coordinated propaganda campaign being launched in an attempt to sell these carts at grossly inflated prices. In today's video, we will take a look at this insane story and see what the hell is going on. I really hope you enjoy. Now legends, a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Watcher of Realms. Watcher of Realms is a really fun RPG that I played a ton over the past couple of years. It combines classic fantasy RPG elements with tower defense, which are two of my favorite genres. The graphics are fantastic, and there are over 200 unique heroes across 10 factions to collect and develop. And right now, one of the most iconic stealth action franchises in history, Assassin's Creed, is coming to the world of Tyr. 5 legendary protagonists from the historic series have come to join forces with the heroes of Watcher of Realms to battle the gods of the underworld and reclaim the power of the demon tide. Personally, when I think Assassin's Creed, I think Ezio, which is perfect because just by logging in daily and participating in events, you'll receive a mega strong awakened Ezio as a permanent legendary hero, plus a ton of other free rewards including 130 summons, exclusive artifacts, and more. On top of that, Cassandra, Eivor, Bayek, and Evie are all available to collect. And if you want even more rewards, make sure to head over to the web event and take the Assassin's Creed Knowledge Quiz. I've been having a blast playing Watcher of Realms again. It has a great selection of game modes including the campaign, arena, guild boss, and intense guild v guild battles. And honestly, with the current Assassin's Creed crossover, it's the perfect time to start playing. To download Watcher of Realms and grab your free Ezio, just click my link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. It's completely free to play on PC, Android, and iOS. Also, make sure to use my redeem code FREEEPIC3rd to obtain one of 2 powerful epic heroes for boosting your early game progression. If you head to NintendoWire.com, the banner proudly proclaims, "We discovered a new variant of Super Mario Bros." The owner of Nintendo Wire, Jason, wrote an article on the 29th of July about the discovery. From the get-go, you can tell that this is a self-serving puff piece. It reads, For the last 20 years, I've been what many would have called an obsessive video game collector. Nearly every weekend I could be found at the crack of dawn at garage sales, flea markets, thrift stores, and estate sales searching for Nintendo treasures to add to my collection. Over the decades, those early mornings have led to some incredible finds. I've rescued a broken Pokemon Snap station and restored it to working condition. I've uncovered countless rare NES, SNES, and Nintendo 64 games, along with promotional displays, store signage, and other pieces of Nintendo history that most collectors never get the chance to see. This story also involves finding a new treasure, but something way outside what I ever expected to cover. So strap in, get yourself a snack or a cup of coffee, and let's talk about how I found 97 never-before-seen variants of one of the most popular games in history. Personally, I don't believe most of this. Sure, the guy is obviously passionate about games. He even founded a news company talking about Nintendo. So I'm not saying he is some random speculator who has no actual interest in video games. But what I am suggesting is that he is embellishing the truth here. Apparently, he has been an obsessed collector for decades and has found countless rare games, but none are as rare and valuable as the games he has just found. After finding the games, Jason posted the discovery to a Facebook group, and apparently within 15 minutes, two separate directors at two separate grading companies directly reached out to Jason. How convenient. It's also convenient that this Facebook post no longer exists. Jason ended up flying all of the carts out to the grading company PSA, who graded them and gave them a unique pedigree, calling them the Nintendo Wire Find. According to the label on the case, this find is recognized as historically significant by, let me check my notes here, the guy who is selling them. Allegedly, these games had originally been sent to recover gold, but somehow one box survived. Well, I'm really glad that PSA is doing their due diligence here and letting us know that the guy who is selling the cart thinks the cart is historically significant. What a trustworthy source! The Nintendo Wire article also definitely doesn't read like an advertisement for the grading company PSA. With Jason writing, "One of the nice things about PSA is that they give you the ability to see the status of your grading, for video games at least, right on their website. So over the next few days, I compulsively refreshed the page to see if any of them had been graded and whether it was possible that at least one of these would receive the world's first PSA 10 for an NES cartridge. Luckily, I would not have to wait very long. About a week later, the first grade started coming in." The article ends with the announcement that some of the now graded games will be up for sale on golden auctions. Oh, so this entire article is just an ad. Cool. But how do we go from finding 100 loose carts of the two most sold games on the NES to a discovery of ultra-rare games that are worth millions? Well, first, you need a good story. Sometimes a good story is all it takes to turn an otherwise worthless cart into something worth its weight in gold. For instance, in 1990, Nintendo hosted the Nintendo World Championships. This event was one of the first global video game tournaments. Players competed on modified carts that contained timed versions of Super Mario, Rad Racer, and Tetris. They weren't even the full games. You only have a maximum of just over 6 minutes to play before it ends. But the games themselves isn't what makes these carts valuable. And trust me, they are valuable. Several hundred great carts were made for the competition, and they sell for tens of thousands of dollars at auctions. But the really special carts are the gold versions. Only 26 of these were ever made, and they were given to winners of a competition run by Nintendo Power. These gold NWC carts truly are the holy grail of NES collecting. Only 16 copies are still known to exist, and in 2024, a graded gold cart missing the front label sold for over $200,000. Regardless of whether or not you think this is way too much to pay for a cart, it certainly ticks all of the boxes that would make something collectible. Only 26 were made, making them super rare. They have really cool, distinguishable gold cases. They represent a defining moment in gaming culture. So even a really beat-up cart with no front label still sells for as much as a house. It's the rarity and the cultural significance that makes it valuable. In other words, it's the story. So what is the amazing story behind these newly discovered carts that would make them sell for millions?
Yes, so a good buddy of mine, he owns a shop called One Stop Wonders in downtown Waukesha. Just such a cool store. So a couple months ago, his pinball machine broke down. He asked me to come and fix it. I came and fixed it. We started talking and kind of forming a friendship. And he just asked me, hey, you work online, you work in the video game industry. Can you help me sell these games that I've had for years? I buy so much stuff, I just can't sell it.
But essentially, he asked me some time ago, like, hey, I have all of this stuff, like all of these games that, I've accumulated over the years. I could really use some help selling some of this stuff online. I know that you're online. Is that something that you can help me with?
Wow, that is a truly beautiful story. His friend had a box of cards and, sorry, I'm getting emotional as I'm explaining this. Let me calm down for a second. His friend had a box of cards lying around and he wanted Jason's help to sell them. If that doesn't bring a tear to your eye, you have a heart of stone. Usually, loose cards are the least valuable thing you can collect. For instance, you can buy a Super Mario cartridge on eBay anytime for $20. But the most valuable video game ever sold was also Super Mario, selling for $3 million. And there are multiple factors that turn a $20 game into a game worth millions. The first is that it must be sealed. Most people, when they bought games, opened the box and took out the game, in the process destroying the seal. To find an unopened game for the NES is genuinely rare. The second major factor is that it has to be the earliest known print. NES games are notorious for having their boxes display slight differences depending on the year they were produced. So you can tell when a particular copy was sold by the type of seal or by certain text or symbols on the box. The $3 million Mario is the earliest known print to exist that has never been opened, being produced in early 1986. And only 2 sealed copies of this particular print exist. So while there are technically almost 300 sealed Super Marios that have been graded, most of these were produced from 1989 onwards, years after the game was originally released. By this time, Super Mario and Nintendo in general were already cultural phenomenons, which naturally led to some people preserving and collecting the games, even all those years ago. But when Mario was first released, there was no cultural significance and no one preserved them, which is why earlier prints are so hard to find sealed. So the $3 million Mario was sealed, it was the earliest known print, and it is super rare. Given that these factors are so important, how does one justify peddling the narrative that a box of 100 loose cards is also worth millions? Well, here is where you need to get creative. The cards in question were produced in 1993, and you can tell this by the code printed on the circuit board. This represents the latest known production of these cards. Historically, the latest known prints are always the least valuable, because they are less rare, and also they haven't needed to have survived for as long, which leads to better quality boxes in general. This is perfectly demonstrated by looking at other sealed Super Mario Bros. That have been sold. This particular sealed copy of Mario is the exact same grade of the $3 million sale, but as you can see, it was the last production, and because of this, it was valued at just over 1% of the first print. These recent loose cards that have been all over the news were shipped to the US in 1995, 10 years after Mario was released, and half a decade after the Nintendo World Championships. Hell, it was even years after the Super Nintendo was released. This should make them relatively worthless. But apparently, in a shocking twist, the fact that they are the latest print now makes them super valuable, at least according to the guy trying to sell them.
These were printed about 2 years after the last known printing of these games. So this is one of the most documented games in the history of video game preservation, and nobody has ever seen these specific cards before.
As opposed to valuable games which are legitimately hard to find, these carts were literally found in bulk. Of course they're valuable. I mean, when you find carts by the box full, this definitely makes them a scarce resource. But let's ignore all of that. Let's pay attention to the cool shipping box the games came in.
Yeah, what was it, a cardboard box, or what type of box was it?
It was a cardboard box, and it's sitting right here behind me.
Oh my gosh, so please show us.
So this was the box that it came in. You can kind of see the Japanese sticker there in yellow. There was a white sticker that indicated it was received by Nintendo of America, but I cannot believe that box held up.
What we have here is almost 100 loose cards found in bulk of the latest print possible. We don't even know why the games were made. All we have to go on is the story told by the guy selling them.
So no one really understands fully why Nintendo made a box of 100 of these.
By every single metric, these games should not be worth anything. But don't let these pesky minor details get in the way. If we pay enough news organizations to say the cards are worth millions, surely someone, somewhere out there, will believe it.
3 cartridges are headed to auction this month and could fetch millions.
3 of the rare cartridges are headed to auction later this month and could fetch millions of dollars.
Now, 3 of them are headed to the auction block later this month, and they could be worth millions of dollars.
3 cartridges are headed to the auction this month and could fetch millions of dollars.
And the cartridges, 3 of them are headed to auction this month, could fetch millions of dollars.
3 cartridges are headed to auction this month and could fetch millions.
And what you have per cartridge, you're looking at thousands, if not hundreds of thousands.
I mean, you're saying, I'm not saying that.
Hey man, Jason isn't saying they're worth millions, you're saying it, not him. And he is definitely not paying you to say this either. It's just a coincidence that all of these broadcasters have the exact same script. By the way, what on earth did I just see in one of those clips?
And the cartridges, 3 of them are headed to auction this month, could fetch millions of dollars.
Duck duck hint on the Super Nintendo. What in the AI is this?
A lot of money.
Yeah, those are some.
How much would you pay?
Oh man.
If you had the money.
Oh goodness, I would probably pay, 10 grand, 50 grand if I had the money.
Joel's a big Nintendo fan.
Oh,
so.
those are a couple of NES games. I've played the Duck Hunt. It has the little gun. I forget what it's called. I think it's called something.
I think it's called something. That is top-notch commentary here. This guy is definitely an expert, and he says he would pay 50 grand for these cards, so they must be valuable.
3 of them alone are expected to fetch millions at auction this month.
3 of the cartridges are set to hit the auction block this month and are expected to sell for millions.
Holy moly! It's not even that they could sell for millions, they are apparently expected to, at least according to the news. For those who are a little bit confused about what's going on here, every news organization will allow you to pay for your own personal news story to be broadcast. It's paid advertisement masquerading as news. There are companies that exist for this sole purpose, like PR Newswire, which states, "Ensure your story gets the attention it deserves with PR Newswire, the industry's most trusted and extensive distribution network. Gain access to 500,000 newsrooms, journalists, influencers, and digital media outlets, driving greater visibility and engagement across every channel through our multi-channel amplification approach. These companies will take your money and schedule interviews with news shows, and they'll take your script to read as news, with no indication whatsoever that it's been paid for. Given the sheer amount of coverage this non-story got, I would guess someone paid at least tens of thousands of dollars to push this. And I have a theory, a game theory, about what is going on. Obviously, these loose cards are pretty worthless. On Golden Auctions, a 10 is selling for $1,500, and a 9.6 and 9.8 are selling for a few $100. This is after the millions of impressions they paid for, telling people how the games are the rarest and most valuable things ever found. They are almost certainly not going to make back the money they spent on paid news segments. So that begs the question, why try this hard? I think it's because this story isn't about the games, it's about the grading. Remember how I mentioned the original article was really just an ad for PSA? The script given to news shows was very intentional. They call out the fact that the games were graded by PSA and then immediately afterwards say they will be sold for millions at auction.
Whoa, some are in pristine condition and have received the first ever PSA 10 grade for an original Nintendo game. 3 of the rare cartridges are headed to auction later this month and could fetch millions of dollars.
Some are in perfect condition, earning the first PSA 10 grades for an NES game. 3 cartridges are headed to the auction this month and could fetch millions of dollars altogether.
I have a hunch this is just a push to make people start grading their loose cards. If you look at the PSA population reports, you'll find that barely anyone sends in their loose cards to be graded. It's mostly complete in box or sealed games that people send in. But given that sealed games especially are so rare, the amount of ungraded sealed Nintendo games remaining will quickly dry up, and they probably already have. However, if you can manage to make people believe that their loose cards are now worth millions, there are now millions and millions of loose cards that you could potentially grade. And if you can convince enough people, now your grading company is set for life. In my opinion, this ridiculous and transparently manufactured campaign can only be reasonably explained by this motivation. Honestly, I don't think Jason spent tens of thousands of dollars personally, but I do think PSA did. Jason just gets to enjoy the publicity that he, Nintendo Wire, and the carts that he is selling have gotten, and PSA gets to enjoy the seemingly, but not really, organic exposure.
We refuse to kind of even speculate on what these could go for. I've said it could go for hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars.
I refuse to speculate on what these could go for. They could go for hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, billions. Wait, let me check something real quick. Oh my god, these games could go for roughly $103.3 trillion. But I refuse to speculate. If any of you out there want to buy these carts, head over to Golden Auctions where the world's first perfect grade is going up for sale. And I've heard it could fetch millions.